Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
Man, I was on a plane to Mexico on Tuesday, and although the Wi-Fi on the plane was not very good, I caught the news that Tyrann Mathieu had announced his retirement. And I know there's some people who maybe question the timing with proximity to training camp, but the reality is most of these guys know if they're sensing they're near the end, if they're contemplating it. And quite honestly, the NFL is like so many things where if you are not all in, then you are out. You cannot go into the physical, grueling nature of not only a 17-game regular season, but a 20-game slate that includes the 3 preseason games, the potential of postseason, and then starting, of course, your season-long journey at the end of July in training camp. I mean, you're talking about potentially going from July to February, and I don't think the Saints are going to play to February, but you certainly play into January. I mean, so you're talking about 5.5 months. I mean, almost half a year of a physical commitment to doing this thing where you have to be all in. And if you are not all in, then you are out. And I know in the past, Tyron had talked about wanting to play a couple of more seasons. You might recall when we were at Radio Row, or Media Row as they call it, at the Super Bowl, we had a chance to visit with Demario Davis, and Demario told us that he wanted to play 3 more seasons. And he's at age 36 right now, but wanted to play 3 more seasons because he thought that's what it was going to take to get New Orleans under Kellen Moore with a young quarterback back into contention. And so you look at Demario, and Tyrann Mathieu said at the time he wanted to play 2 more seasons. Cam Jordan as well. Like, those guys want to go out winners, and I understand and respect that. But there's also the component where, I mean, it's cliche, everybody says it, but you know it. Father Time is undefeated. And when you are no longer all in, then you are out. So there's the component of this and what it means for the 2025 New Orleans Saints, which we'll talk about here in just a quick second. But Tyrann Mathieu was a guest on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams on Monday, and he gave a very long and thoughtful answer to the question, why retire now?
That's been a conversation I've kind of had, really going into the last couple seasons. And I think the older I got, the more challenging and harder it became to leave my kids. Like, at first it was all cool. Like, I get the weekend off, you know what I mean? But then it's like, once you get a certain age, or I guess I should say, once you kind of, begin to experience different parts of life, I think priorities shift. Like, I think the things that meant the most to me when I was 22, they don't really mean the most to me at 33, And so, I think my kids play a big part in that. And it's funny because, I think the only one that's kind of upset with me right now is my daughter. She's like 5. And then my 2 sons, who's 12 and 11, I think they've been able to experience this thing, right? And I remember one of them kind of telling me, Dad, I think you need a break, man. Like you've been doing that a long time.
Tyrann Mathieu is 33 years old. He turned 33 this past May. And when I heard him talk about his children influencing his decision, the first thing that popped in my mind was conversations I've had with Ryan Theriot. And I understand, Tyrann was on the All-Decades team in the 2000s, or the 2010s. He's a 3-time All-Pro. He has a case to be made for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can hem and haw, but when you make an All-Decades team and are a 3-time first-team All-Pro, your name is on the ballot and you are in consideration. And when you look at so much of what goes into what Tyrann Mathieu has done throughout his career, over the dozen years that he played, he has made his cash total career earnings are $97 million. If you want an exact number, $97,594,901. Dude has made $100 million cash earnings during his dozen years in the NFL. This is a guy that initially was a no-star, balls out at different camps, becomes a four-star, goes to LSU. We know the story. Heisman finalist, dismissed. Would he have a career after his arrest? Cardinals take him in round 3 after Patrick Peterson, senior and junior, began mentoring him. And he's a great success story. And my God, one thing I know about America is America loves a comeback story. We love we love the Rocky, the down on your luck, the rags to riches story. We love someone who was up against it, maybe had it all, got it taken away, and then achieves it again. And Tyrann Mathieu is a quintessential version of that story, and he's so easy to cheer for. But I remember having this conversation with Terrio when his playing career was ending. And again, Ryan Terry was not a potential Hall of Famer, but he's a guy that spent more than a decade playing professional baseball and made a lot of money and won World Series and did a lot of things. And he's told the story many times that, like, he was gone and he was missing his kids riding a bike for the first time and just life milestones. And when you've checked so many boxes professionally, you start to say, like, do I love this more than I missing my children achieve certain things? And that answer is literally different for everybody. And there is no right or wrong. It's just what is. And if Tyrann's kids at 12 and 11, his sons are telling him, Dad, you need a break. And he's talking about, man, I've been thinking about it the last couple of years anyway. I'll go back to where we started. You're either all in or you are out, because there is no way to do the NFL halfway. There's a great soundbite this weekend I heard from Ryan Clark talking about that in a conversation, a back and forth with he and Cam Newton. I don't know all the context of it or anything, but one of the things that RC said is from a guy that was an undrafted free agent to making a Pro Bowl, from a regular job with the Tiger Athletic Foundation to getting a workout with the Giants to then making the then Redskins and having a prolonged career with the Steelers and playing 13 years. Like, he said, look at any clip of my career and you will see a dude going 100%. There was nothing else, because if you're not doing that, you don't have a career. So I understand for Tyrann how even 6 months ago he could have said, I want to play 2 more years. But the second your child comes to you and says, Dad, you need a break, it can reframe everything. If you're a parent, you understand that. Even if you're not a parent, to a degree, I'm certain you can understand that. There's a lot of other things that I thought were important. Kay Adams did ask him the importance of retiring with his hometown team, the New Orleans Saints. Here's what Tyrann said.
New Orleans, man, has been, really everything for me. I think the city, the people within the city, and even beyond that, really, the entire Louisiana, they've just been so supportive and, really so encouraging. And I think ultimately, as a youngster, man, like, you just want to make your people proud. And, I was so proud to kind of represent New Orleans, everywhere I went. And I was fortunate enough, to say, when I had this opportunity to come back home, I think that was just a perfect, scenario for me. I had, really achieved everything, possible, to achieve as a defensive player, in the last couple of years. And, to have the opportunity to come home and, and really just be present with, my foundation and, ultimately, man, just giving these kids some inspiration and some hope. I hope I was able to, provide that for them, these last couple of years, I've been able to be home.
It'll be really interesting to see what Tyrann does in the next phase of his life. Does he stay in New Orleans, somewhere in Louisiana? Does he go back to Arizona, Kansas City, here in Houston, where he played with the Texans? He's got many options of what he can do, but wherever he decides to call home, I don't think there's any doubt that he will continue to stay rooted in New Orleans with all the work he's done with his foundation and for the youth in the city in New Orleans and around Louisiana. Now, another topic that came up is the possibility of coaching, which is something Tyrann has talked about openly. Brian Kelly last Wednesday, when he was at the Rotary Club meeting, did sort of he made a joke saying, that Tyron was going to suit up for the team with Clemson, but then he followed up by saying, I expect Tyron to be around our program. Now, he didn't specify if that would be in an official capacity or just someone that would be around. Remember, Tyrann Mathieu has made 2 different 7-figure gifts to the LSU football program. You go into football ops, the team room is the Tyrann Mathieu team room in football ops, which is another incredible part of the story altogether, where I don't know, literally, I cannot think of another instance. Maybe you can. If you can, please let me know. I'm being dead serious about this. I can't think of another instance where a player was kicked off a team, was dismissed, but then continued to have a relationship with that team school program, especially to the tune of making multiple 7-figure donations, gifts to that school. Anyway, it just speaks to the true rareness, if not altogether uniqueness, of the relationship that Tyrann Mathieu and LSU have with one another. But anyway, Kay Adams did ask if coaching would be in Tyrann Mathieu's future. Here's what he said.
I won't be coaching this fall, that's for sure. But who knows what the future holds? I think, anybody that's kind of known me and, really been around me, I think they know how much I love football. I'm really, honestly, man, I'm looking forward to like the next great challenge. I feel like when I came into the league, obviously it was a great challenge for me because of, where I come from and all those things. And, I was really proud of the way I handled myself. The last 12, 13 years. And I'm excited to see like me do that in my next like endeavor. I don't know if it's going to be TV. I don't know if it's going to be coaching. I don't know. But I know like me being away from football, I don't think like that's a thing. I think my heart is still like, with the game, and especially the players.
That last part of the soundbite is the answer. Me being away from football, that's not a thing. So if it's TV, if it's coaching, if it's some administrative role, maybe it's years from now, who knows? Hard to believe Tyron will be far from the game, and hard to believe he'll be far from LSU. He is forever interwoven into the fabric of New Orleans, LSU, Louisiana, New Orleans Saints football culture. Having been from New Orleans, prepped at Aug, gone to LSU, played for the Saints. He's done it all at every levels. I mean, one of the coolest photos is the one of Tyron when he first signed with the Saints, wearing the Saints helmet and holding the St. Aug and LSU helmets on each shoulder. I mean, that kind of speaks volumes to what Tyron has been, will be with Louisiana and the state of Louisiana in football. So congrats to Tyrann Mathieu on his retirement, his first public comments in an interview with Kay Adams on Up and Adams. Of course, you can get that full interview on YouTube or wherever you get your content.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.